call to order the regular meeting of August 23rd for the Grant County Commission. Welcome, everybody. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance and the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, because it is a symbol of perfect friendship among the united cultures. The first item on the agenda is to approve the agenda. Is there any changes need to come?
None that I know of, Mr. Chairman.
Everybody good? Can I get a motion to approve it?
Chairman Caston, I move to approve the regular meeting agenda.
And I second. There's a motion and a second to approve the regular meeting agenda. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes. We'll have public input at this time. During this portion of our meeting, we welcome your suggestions and we want to hear your concerns. This is not a question and answer period. Speakers will be limited to 5 minutes. Individuals who would like to discuss an item in more depth may request to be placed on a future agenda. Request forms are available in the county manager's office. Is there any public input at this time? Yes, ma'am. Please state your name for record, please.
My name is Sharon McGrath. I am the co-chair for the Member Senior Center Council, Advisory Council, and I'm still waiting breathlessly for your phone call, sir.
Did I not see an email that was sent, a letter that was sent?
I didn't. You said you'd call, but nobody...
We got her number at the last meeting. Didn't I see a response to a letter that Terry wrote to her?
Terry wrote, yeah, he gave us a copy of a letter that was sent out.
He did not get that letter?
No, I did not.
Okay, well,
Can we make sure we get that letter to her?
Yeah, we'll make sure we get a copy to you.
Because I got a copy of it.
Okay.
Terry sent a letter right after the meeting, copied the commissioners and myself on it, and we thought you had
No,
received it.
no.
So we'll find out.
Okay, thank you. And I did want to thank the council, the commissioners, on behalf of the Members Senior Center and all the seniors in the Members Valley for your consideration in the pilot project that the Volunteer Center has set before you. And I would like to submit a hastily drawn petition to back it up. We had 3 days, so we do have quite a few names, but we would all like to thank you for giving this your in-depth consideration.
I got an email with all the...
I did too.
Okay.
Randy,
Do you want the original?
Yes, please.
Okay. And that's it.
All right, thank you very much. Sorry about the letter not getting to you. We'll get you a copy.
Okay.
Any other public input? Seeing none, we'll move on. Minutes, approve or disapprove July 24th regular meeting minutes?
Chairman Caston, I move to approve the minutes for July 24th, 2012.
My second. There's a motion to approve the July 24th regular meeting minutes. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Approve or disapprove July 30th, 2012 special meeting minutes?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make the motion that we approve July 30th, 2012 special meeting minutes.
I'll second that motion.
There's a motion and a proper second to approve the July 30th special meeting minutes. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes. Financial reports, review and discussion of the 2012 financial, July 2012 financial report. John, you want to go over that?
I just noticed that was on there. We haven't imported the revenues from July.
So we're not ready?
So no.
Okay.
I'm sorry about that. I just noticed that was on there, and I've been importing the revenues. I received them from the treasurer last week.
Okay. Well, we'll move on to item D. Approve or disapprove the August 21st expenditure report.
I move to approve the August 21st, 2012 expenditure report.
My second. Motion to approve the August 21st, 2012 expenditure report. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes. Okay, new business, item E. Approve or disapprove a proposal from the Volunteer Center for the Senior Center Management Pilot Program at the Member Senior Center.
Chairman Caston, I move to approve the proposal from the Volunteer Center for the Senior Center Management Pilot Program at the Members Senior Center.
And I second.
There's a motion and a second for the proposal from the Volunteer Center, from Senior Center. Are we going to have John enter into this agreement? Because this is approving a proposal that is not our proposal.
I would like to rescind my second, and but for discussion, I think what we need to do is just enter into some kind of agreement allowing you to go ahead and proceed, but with...
Yeah, because this really isn't an agreement, so I think we need to...
I think we're just approving the
The
proposal.
amendment, yeah, I mean, and I guess it could be an amendment to Commissioner Miller's original motion is that she's approving going forward with the proposal with the understanding that I will
Negotiations.
work with the Volunteer Center to enter into an agreement is what I think she was going for, because this is just a proposal of, this is what they'd like to do, and this is what they're saying that they think it would take them to do
Probably
it, but
the
we've
easiest
never
thing to
sat
do.
down and put together a contract with them or anything.
I'll just call the first motion to die for a lack of a second, since the second has been rescinded, and we'll let you...
Okay, so I move to approve the proposal from the Volunteer Center with Mr. Sari negotiating the contract with the center.
And I second.
There's a motion and a second to approve Mr. Sari to enter into an agreement with the Volunteer Center for Senior Center Management. Is there any discussion on that motion?
I just want to mention that I think this is really going to be an asset to the center with the additional services that are provided. I've worked very closely with Alicia, who's out there in the audience, and I know that she'll do her best to provide those very much needed services for our seniors, and seniors, of course, are very important to us. So I'm real excited to see how this works out.
I agree. I just think that we need to make sure that we look at the numbers and what have you, make sure that that's going to suffice and do a good... Let them, allow them to do a good job.
And what I'll do is I'll get with Terry and I and Alicia can sit down and we'll talk about what
You
she's
just
going
enter
to
into
do,
some
and
type
we'll...
of fulfillment agreement.
Yeah, we'll put it into a professional service agreement that we have and go ahead and get it set up and put together for
And the
everybody.
draft that we have here is a good breakdown, too. So
And good luck. Yeah, fun.
Good luck, Alicia. Thank you.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item F, approve or disapprove the distribution reversion application to the Department of Finance and Administration for the DWI program.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. What this is, as you know, we run the DWI program, and we get our budget, and then if there's some funds that aren't used or applied for by the others, then Cindy can go back and ask for some funds. And so what this is for treatment, it's an additional $6,300 to bring our grant amount up to $34,200 in the treatment area, and the total of the grant from $85,000 to $91,300. It doesn't come out of the general fund. These are the state monies that she gets, and like I said, it's each year after they've doled out all the money, if somebody can't accept it all or there's extra money, more funds collected than they thought, then they go back and they can get some of these other dollars. And so that's what this is, to help her program. Oh, and Cindy's here. Cindy, you're back there?
You have anything to add, Cindy?
No, that was perfect.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I'd like to have the record state I was perfect.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make the motion we approve the distribution reversion application to the Department of Finance and Administration for DWI program.
And I'll second that motion.
The motion and a second to approve the distribution reversion. Is there any discussion on the motion?
I just want to make sure Rob got that Cindy said I was perfect in the minutes.
Okay. We'll take her word for it. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes. Item G. Approve or disapprove an authorization of the county manager to enter into a professional services agreement with El Refugio in the amount of $10,000.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, last year the commission gave $5,000 to El Refugio. They came at a time when their budgets had been cut. They came to the commission. The commission gave them $5,000 to help offset the cost of the services they provide to the community. This year they've made a request of the commission of $10,000, so we've put it in front of you. There's been no agreements entered into or any real conversations with El Refugio about this. It's just a letter that was submitted, so we brought it in front of the commission to see what your wishes are, if you wish us to start negotiations with them or talk with them. Or
Why did they increase from 5 to 10?
The only thing I can see is in their agreement, they're saying that there's $79,000 worth of billable services that they do not get reimbursed for, and so they've just increased. They haven't talked with us to tell us why they're increased.
I think they went over and above the case of what the state would pay for, because domestic abuse has been on the rise, apparently, and I didn't know if Maria would be here today. And I definitely think it's a service that we really, really need to help out. I mean, if you read the police blotter, there's at least 2 or 3 domestic disturbances every day, and I'm sure Joseph can verify that, and Kevin. But what I would like to see is maybe table this until we see some sort of a professional service agreement, which we require entities to submit to us, so that we can see the breakdown of how the money would be used.
So if we're going to table it past this meeting, we need to state when we will read.
Well, let's see. I guess
Our
John
next
can get with
meeting-
them, and our next meeting would be
September 11th.
September 11th.
Okay, so I would accept that motion to table the meeting till September 11th, if that's what you just did.
Yes.
Okay. Want to second that?
Second.
The motion is second to table the El Refugio professional services agreement until September 11th, when John will have more information on what that money will be spent for and why there's an increase. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes.
I'm pretty sure you can't say heel.
What? Okay. Approve or disapprove the acceptance of an ambulance from the Gila Regional Medical Center to the Sapio Creek Volunteer Fire Department.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. At our last meeting, we accepted an ambulance for Tyrone Volunteer Fire Department. It was given by Gila Regional down for the Hatchita area to use as a medical rescue and not an ambulance. It's actually a medical rescue that they'll have to transport to an intercept. This is the same situation. Gila Regional Medical Center used to provide ambulance services in the Sapio Creek area along with volunteer EMS personnel. About a year ago, the availability of EMS personnel, the volunteer side of it, was not to where it was required to be by the state statutes to continue to have the ambulance running there. So they had to pull the ambulance out, and they've worked with Sapio Creek to change it to a medical rescue. Same type of thing in Hatchita. They'll be able to use the vehicle to pick people up and start a transport, but they've got to intercept with Gila Regional or somebody else as they go along their way. Intercept with life flight, something like that. And so that's what this will be, is a second ambulance brought into us. There's no cost to us. It's just transferring it from Gila Regional's books to our books. And
I thought we already owned the vehicles at Gila Regional.
we do, but they're titled in Gila Regional Medical Center's name, not Grant County's name.
Okay.
So we own all the assets, but some are titled at GRMC. It's two separate because of their component unit of Grant County. They title their things separately, and they're under their own tax ID number. They're not under ours.
Chairman Caston, I move to approve the acceptance of an ambulance from the Gila Regional Medical Center to the Sapio Creek Volunteer Fire Department.
My second.
There's a motion and a second to approve the acceptance of an ambulance from Gila Regional to the Sapio Creek Fire Department. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes. Contracts and agreements, item I, approve or disapprove the amendment to agreement number A0973, a grant agreement with the New Mexico Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management for the Stone Garden Grant for an increase by $332,622.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, this is the grants that the Sheriff's Department has worked on getting for many years, as they speak about each time. It's bought vehicles for us, it provides overtime for our officers and training, and different special equipment that we've purchased. What this is doing is it's extending the process, the increase is extending it to December 31st, 2012 as well. Typically, these grants end on June 30th, but this is also being extended so they can continue to expend these monies. They haven't been able to expend them all by the deadline because of they received two large grants right in a row, and they tried to work the first one completely out of money before they got into the second one, and that's what delayed this one as well. So that's why the extension and the increase.
Okay. Kevin, you have anything to add? Or? No? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make the motion that we approve amendment to agreement number A-09-73.
And I'll second that motion.
There's a motion and a second to approve the amendment to agreement number A0973. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes. Item J, approve or disapprove amendment to agreement number A1140. This is a joint powers agreement with the City of Baird for a chip seal project within the municipality.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Last year, we worked with, the road department worked with the City of Bayard to help them with their chip seal projects, so that as the dollars are getting reduced from the state levels for us, the local government road fund monies and different monies we go after for road repair, it's harder to go out for bid. And so what we did is we worked with them, that they bought the materials and we provided labor, and they paid us for our labor to do that. And so it was at a lower cost, and they were able to do more of the chip sealing. So they've come back and asked, they got some money for this year, and they've asked that we do it again for them. Mr. Morris talked with them, looked at the roads, said it's feasible for him to do it with his current work schedule that he got for his officers, or for his road department crew. And so we're just looking at going ahead and amending that agreement so they can get those roads done for Bayard. And then we've been talking with the town of Hurley as well, and the mayor there is going to talk with Earl if they've got some money, and we're looking at doing some chip seal projects in Bayard to fix, or Hurley to fix some of those roads as well. So,
Chairman Caston, I move to approve amendment to agreement number A-11-40.
And I second.
There's a motion to approve that's been seconded to amend the agreement number A1140. Is there any discussion on that motion?
I'd just like to say that, I'm really glad that we're working together, because we're always willing to help our neighbors, and our municipalities. So I'm glad that we are doing this. I just hope that we can continue to work together, and that we can encourage them to support our big project that we've got going on in Fort Bayard, because we are team players. We do help out the best we can, but we do encourage their support in our project.
yeah. I bring it up each time they call and ask for us to help them.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item K, approve or disapprove an amendment to agreement number A1152, cooperative law enforcement agreement with the USDA Gila National Forest for an increase of $15,000.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. This is, the Sheriff's Office each year gets the Forest Patrol monies. It's around $25,000. And what that does is helps offset our most of it offsets our labor costs for when our officers are doing patrols in the forest, helping out the Forest Service. What this money is they've come to us, and there's the repeaters that we've been using, that they've got on Coppers, that they've given us this money to go ahead and buy some equipment to upgrade that, so it'll help us with our radio issues that we have in the Members Valley region and our holes that we have. And so they've completely funded it, and I think the cost is going to be just a little over $10,000 in the equipment that we're going to need to upgrade those repeaters. So this will cover it completely. There's no cost to us. We've gotten the quotes already. Kevin's been working on it so that as soon as we get the approval of the agreement, they're ready to roll and get that, and so we can help with that whole of radio communication that our officers have down in that area, and as well as our fire department. It's going to help everybody out in that Members Valley with radio communication.
Well, has this agreement already been entered into? Because it looks like it's already all been signed and it's been done in July.
The sheriff signed when they passed it to him, but because he wasn't aware that he couldn't approve the amendment. He thought because the original agreement approved by the commission, he could go ahead and enter in the amendment. So he signed, but they are aware that it needed the commission's signature, the Forest Service, because you approved the original, and so is the sheriff. So that's what they're waiting on. It was just that they gave it to him, and he was thinking because the original agreement was approved, he was good to go. And so he just went ahead and signed to agree that they wanted to do this, especially because of it helps with the safety issue. He was excited to have that safety issue for his officers fixed.
Okay. Get a motion? Approve or disapprove?
I move to approve amendment to agreement number A-11-52.
My second?
There's a motion and a second to approve amendment agreement to A-1152. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes. Item L, approve or disapprove agreement number A-1235, a grant agreement with the New Mexico Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management for the Safe Border Grant in the amount of $50,000.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. What this grant is the sheriff has gotten this for several years now. Originally, when the grant came out, it was enough funding to buy equipment and pay the salary of an officer and pay for fuel and repairs to a vehicle. As funding's been cut through the federal levels, it's been cut down to $50,000, so it doesn't quite fund an officer anymore. We got it last year. We have put it out for trying to find somebody to come and work it, and currently, with the economy the way it is, nobody's wanting to give up a job in law enforcement to come to a job, because the requirements for this is you've got to have 2 years experience in law enforcement already and already be certified to accept this job. And so you're trying to take somebody from a department that's already working into this job that's only guaranteed year to year. And so it's really hard, but they give it to us, and each year we try and fill it because we don't want to just turn the money back and say it's not fillable. So we accept the money, we go through the process of trying to find somebody to take the job, and when we don't, then Kevin works with them to see if there's a possibility of him using the monies for something else. I think last year they allowed us to do something else with it a little bit. Kevin?
Yes, we bought the Dodge truck and 2 4-wheelers with it.
Oh, so we are able to use it other than what it's designed for?
This
I
year,
don't believe they're going to allow us to do it anymore, though.
yeah, this
I
year,
always love a grant that right at the top of the page, it says funding is for salary and benefits only, and then they turn around and let you do something like that.
yeah, so we accept it, and we go through the process of trying to hire someone, and when we don't hire someone, then Kevin calls and asks, hey, you know what, we tried, and he shows them we tried, can we do something else with this money?
I mean, it's a great deal for us, but it seems kind of falling.
Well, I mean, the gentleman that gets hired can also put in for other jobs, right?
It gives the ability for somebody to get inside the county, because we advertise all our jobs inside first. But there's no guarantee there'll be an opening when this money runs out, is the other issue as well.
There's always openings in the sheriff's office.
Not as much as the detention center. But it's a cut and pay to go to the detention center, so a lot of officers don't want to go down to the detention center because it's less money, so.
But it is a footing.
But it is a way to get in, but it's always, because of the requirements of having to have 2 years' experience and already be certified, you're looking for somebody that's already working at a department, and a lot of people won't. You know, our internal guys won't take it because there's no guarantee they got a job in here.
But this is perfectly legal, right, Dave?
Yes.
Okay. Can I get
They're
a
the
motion?
ones that amend the grant. It's not us just spending on whatever we want. They amend the grant to let us spend it on other things.
With that explanation, I'll move to approve agreement number A-12-35.
And I second.
Motion and a second to approve A 1235. Is there any further discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Approve or disapprove agreement number A 1236, detention contract with McKinley County for juvenile offenders in the amount of $95 per day per detainee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. This is just, as we've spoken in the past, we try and set up contracts with the other detention centers because you never know who's going to have availability and where we're going to have to send people, and so we like to have agreements in place. McKinley County at $95 per day is actually a cheap rate for juveniles. Usually juveniles are 105 or greater, and so that's actually a good rate, but it's also a very long drive to McKinley County. So we typically try and use Luna County first, and then move from there to the distances is what we try and place with our juveniles, but we usually try and do
That center's actually in Gallup, isn't it?
this one is, yeah. So it's a ways to it. So, but that's what it is we just try and give plenty of tools for Joseph and for the law enforcement agencies and JPPO that they can go, and we already have agreements because we're responsible for paying for these juveniles, even though we don't have a juvenile facility.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make the motion that we approve agreement number A-12-36.
I'll second that motion.
There's a motion and a second to approve A 1236. Is there any discussion on that motion? Just so the public knows, juvenile detention has become a real buzzword out there, and we're actually working with the regional counties to try to build or to renovate a current detention center or build a new one simply for juvenile detention in our area, so we don't have to have our youth transported so far and kept so far away from their parents. Not all the time when a youth has to be detained are they as bad as they need to be hauled all the way to Gallup or Albuquerque or Las Lunas. So I would still like to keep them a lot closer, preferably here or Deming for us. So we are working with that through the regional county alliance. So.
And I think Luna County Detention Center is going to do a presentation on the 29th to the Regional County Commissioners Alliance to show them what it would take to be a regional detention juvenile facility for us all.
We're working on that issue. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item N, approve or disapprove an agreement number A-1237, detention contract with Santa Fe County for adult offenders in the amount of $85 per day.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Same type of situation is sometimes you have the need to move adults. It all depends. In our new facility, once we get our medical in there, which Joseph has been diligently working on, we might not have the need as much, but a lot of times what you do is, if you've got rival gang members, if you've got people with special needs that we can't satisfy that another facility can, we'll move those detainees somewhere else so that they can get the treatment they need and have better care if that's the case. Or we separate the rival gang members if we don't have the ability to, based on Joseph's population. When those people come in, we'll ship them out. If it's somebody that has brought a tort against the county in the past and sued the county, we ship those people out to other facilities. And so that's...
And that's the closest facility we can...
No, we have contracts with all of them. Same type of situation as we enter into contracts with all the different facilities. We just make sure we got our bases covered because not always somebody can accept them. I mean, it all depends on their count as to what they can accept and not accept in their current facility, and if they have, what their population is. If they have people that our rival gang members to this gang member we're trying to move, we can't move them in there, so we look other places. And so Joseph has to work to find out where they can fit.
Joseph, how often does this happen?
It's just as an as-needed basis, and we probably won't do it, but it's nice to have the option just in case. And that price is very reasonable price.
Thank you, Joseph. And with that, I will move to approve agreement number A-12-37.
My second.
There's a motion and a second to approve A-1237. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes. Approve or disapprove agreement number A-1238, a special appropriation project agreement with the New Mexico New Mexico Environment Department for the Fort Baird Medical Center sewage system improvements in the amount of $100,000.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. What this is the, during this last legislative session, Representative Martinez, through his capital outlay monies, gave us $100,000 to look at trying to build a booster pump station by the new Fort Baird Medical Center. What we have is there's a booster pump at the old facility, there's a booster pump at Baton Park, but the way when the line was put in, the sewer line that runs from the old Fort Baird into Santa Clara, right around the Beehive, it goes up over a hill and down in instead of going level or at a little bit of a slant. And so without the booster pump running at the old Fort Baird Medical Facility, you start to get a little backup right there. And so what this will do is alleviate that issue ever happening. It's not happening right now. There's no issues. When we first started up the plant, or the new hospital, we saw some little issues that we got fixed. It was due to there was some rocks in the line somehow. We had some big boulders in the line, a bunch of rags from construction. Cleaned that out, and ever since that's been cleaned out, it's been okay, but they're still running the old facility a little bit because they're using the washers and dryers sometimes, so that's still getting a little boost out of there, and that's eventually going to go away. So we want to make sure that this will be a kind of a contained system for the hospital, so we don't ever have to worry about that line backing up or anything. So,
Okay. Can I get a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make the motion that we approve agreement number A-12-38.
I'll second that motion.
There's a motion to approve A-1238. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item P, approve or disapprove agreement number A-1239. This is a contract with the State of New Mexico Department of Cultural Affairs, the State Library Division, for the Rural Bookmobile West in the amount of $2,000.
thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. What this is every year we do our budget, and every year the state library sends us a request for funding after we do our budget. And we've tried to get them to send it to us earlier, and they always send it after. And so we receive this in August or September every year. And so we haven't funded them in the past. So this year when we received it, we thought we'd put it in front of the commission and see what your wishes are. This is for the bookmobile that comes down here and services the kids, brings, different books for them to read, gets out to kids that can't get to a library out in the rural areas. They do a good job. In the past, the commission used to fund it. Probably been 4 or 5 years since we funded it, and it was always at a level of $2,000. It changed around. We used to have a bookmobile station here. This one now, my understanding is it comes out of the TRC area, but it's still coming down into the area and working with the kids and getting them books to read. And so that's why we've put it in front of you, to see if it's something you wish to try and fund. But like I said, is every year they can't get it to us in time for our budgets, and they always get it to us after, and I always send them a letter saying thank you, but we've already made our budget, and please get it to us earlier.
I think the services they provide for those rural areas, though, is a good service. And looking at the stocks, Buckhorn, Hachita, Memphis, Lake Roberts, Campbell's Post, I think those are much in need of some sort of library. So I would move to approve agreement number A-12-39.
My second.
Motion and a second to approve A 1239. Is there any discussion on that motion?
Just have them get us some budget time next week.
Well, I think what we might do is if this is something the commission wishes to see funded, what we can do is just automatically include it in our budget going forward, and they'll probably send us their paperwork in August or September, like they do every year.
That's an awfully inexpensive rural service that we can give to the county, so I think that's probably what
I
we'll
know
do.
we used it as kids, so.
I did. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes. Approve or disapprove agreement number A 1240, professional services agreement with the law office of David H. Gorman for legal services in an amount of $36,000. Is that legal?
Is it legal? Can we get an opinion? No. This is the agreement that we spoke with the commission, we entered into with David H. Gorman for legal services. We've already approved the agreement between myself and Mr. Gorman, and this is to bring it in front of the commission for your ratification of the agreement we have in place with him. We did it before because our attorney left and we had advertised and didn't get anybody, so we needed legal counsel, so I went ahead and entered into an agreement with Mr. Gorman so that we would have legal services in the interim.
Can we remove 2,000 from there for the bookmobile?
Mr. Gorman,
So
he wishes to donate
length
$2,000 to the
the
bookmobile.
length of the agreement would be from July 12th till January 12th, 2013.
Yeah, what we did is for a 6-month period. It was just kind of an estimate. It can be extended. What the state laws are is we can procure professional services under $50,000, 50,000 or under, without going out for bid or RFP, which would be an RFP for the legal services because it is professional. So at this current time, this agreement's for $36,000, so there's actually $14,000 below the cap is that we could do, and it just came based on a proposal, what we thought. We'll go 6 months, see if we don't get somebody else. We're still advertising. It's given Mr. Gorman a chance to see what it's like to be a county attorney and see if he just wants to come be the county attorney by January.
Well, that was certainly a
So, it lets us all try this out because it's been a while since we've had an outside counsel. We had Ms. Robinson for 4 years as our internal legal counsel. And so this gives us a chance to try it out, all parties involved, without binding us a long term. And if we need to in this time frame, if we feel that having outside legal counsel is working and not having an inside person as an employee, then we'll do an RFP before that time frame, and Mr. Gorman can respond and anybody else could respond that wishes to be our legal counsel. If we just decide it's not working, then we'll continue to advertise and people can apply. It's still open. We've been advertising in the bar. We've been sending it to the other counties just to try and see, because we've always had an in-house and it's been easy for the electeds and everybody to just come and talk. But we're trying this out to see how it works. Dave and I have been working pretty good, transferring things back and forth through email, and he comes in and sits with me, and I think he's here all day today. So, we're seeing how it works. So far,
I really
it's worked.
think it's going to work. I think it's going to do the county a good job, and I really think that for all the small stuff, we could continue to call the Association of Counties to help us out with. Of course, the big items we need to present to our attorney.
Yeah. No, and the way it's been working is if we have something big come in, even if I need to send to the association, Dave and I have been getting together, and so he's in the loop and he understands where we're at, and then we talk about it, and then I send it on to them, and so, he's even been on some conference calls with the Association of Counties with the other attorneys, been talking with the other attorneys, and so it's really working out well.
Make a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make the motion, we approve agreement number A-12-40.
And I'll second that motion.
There's a motion and a second to approve the agreement for professional services with the law office of David H. Gorman. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes. Item R, this is approve or disapprove the maintenance contracts with the Interstate Copy Shop for copy machines in the clerk's office, the manager's office, the road department, the Sheriff's Department, and the Treasurer's Office.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. This is just for our annual maintenance on those copy machines. Some are a cost per copy, some have copies built in. We've been with Interstate Copy for a while on these machines. They do a good job. And so they service everything that we have that isn't a Xerox machine. Anything that's an actual Xerox brand is serviced by Xerox. They have a representative here that does that, and those are totally separate. It's a ongoing maintenance contract as long as we have the machine and continue with it, so those don't get renewed. But these are required to be renewed each year on these other machines that are not. They're either Conicos or Minoltas, things like that.
Chairman Caston, I move to approve the maintenance contracts with Interstate Copy Shop for copy machines in the clerk's office, manager's office, road department, sheriff's department, and treasurer's office.
And a second?
The motion is second to approve the maintenance contracts for the clerks, managers, the road department, the sheriff, and the treasurer's office. And is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes. Approve or disapprove bid number B1108, public apron reconstruction at the Grant County Airport.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. This is a project that we're doing through our federal monies where Grant County is responsible for 2.5%, the state of New Mexico is responsible for 2.5%, and the federal government is responsible for 95% of the cost. We've gone out for bid. We've received one contractor to respond on Southwest Concrete and Paving. Their base bid is $559,650. They had an alternative additive of $231,261, which the total plus the additive is $790,911.60. Based on the review by our...
Does that include the gross receipts?
Does not include gross receipts. Based on the review that we have had with the engineering firm that we use, WH Pacific, it's under their engineer's estimate. The engineer's estimate for the base bid was $575,000. We don't have the full $790 awarded from the federal government, and so their recommendation is that the commission award the base bid price of $559,650, which with gross receipts tax would bring it to $594,278.34, which would be inside the amount of money that we have for the project through the
Which is
FAA.
how much?
I believe that grant agreement is for $700,000. And so it's the 790 went outside of it.
So the manager's recommendation is to award the base bid
Base bid to
of
Southwest Concrete.
$559,650 plus gross receipt to Southwest Concrete Paving. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
I so move.
I'll second that.
There's a motion to award bid number B1108 to reconstruct the public apron at the Grant County Airport to Southwest Concrete and Paving in the amount of $559,650 plus gross receipts tax. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Has there been any engineering done?
Yes, the engineering's all been done on it through WH Pacific, sent off to the FAA, and then what they'll do as part of the project, WH Pacific also comes down and does the construction monitoring on the project, so they're making sure it's done within the FAA guidelines. There's cores that have to be done. There's specific things that have to be done. The mix has to be a special mix to be used on airports because of the weight of the aircraft. And then when it's all said and done, the reason why we don't go to the top amount and maybe say kick in a little bit is because there's a striping that'll have to come later on after we redo this apron. There's new hold signs and striping that'll have to be, and that's what'll eat up the remainder of that grant agreement with the FAA. So we'll spend almost all of the $700,000 when we're done.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Passes. Approve or disapprove bid number B1203, Poly Water Storage Tanks for the Tyrone Volunteer Fire Department at the Flying A Substation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. This is one of the substations that is under the Tyrone Fire Department. They've been working on all of their departments on getting more water storage at them so that they can upgrade the ISO ratings. Part of when they do their ISO inspections is how much water they have stored at the facility, helps with the ISO to drop the rating, which in turn helps the residents of the communities to get lower insurance rates, because you can get down, once you get down below an ISO of 8, you start to see deductions on your insurance. So you start off high and you go lower. So a lot of our stations are 8s, 7s. We have some that are 9s. But they're working to get in those lower ISO ratings because it gives them more money from the state fire funds, and as well as gives a reduction to the homeowners in the area of insurance. So they've did this a few times. They've come back. We've got 2 responses, Smith and Aguirre Construction and the Sakatone Construction. Smith and Aguirre came in at $139,750. Sakatone came in at $158,549. After review by Mr. Champlin, who is the engineer on the project that did the design work and will oversee it, he recommends the commission award it to the low bid of to Smith and Aguirre of $139,750 plus gross receipts tax.
So how come every other fire department in the county has old used fuel tanks that have been donated to them, and this department feels as though it needs to spend about $150,000? It doesn't even state how big the tanks are anywhere in the bid.
I can't answer that because we've bid this 2 or 3 times with this group, and this is what this station has wanted. They've been, I guess,
maybe they're not
really
as,
vigilant about...
aesthetically pleasing as these are going to be, but if you drive up and down the Members Valley, you see old fuel tanks used as water. Out of Santa Rita, you see them.
They're out
PA Fire Department, you see them.
Yeah.
Some of them paint them better than others, but they're still tanks.
No, I
They're still
understand.
10,000 gallons.
I understand that.
I can't see, and I realize this is fire money.
Yeah.
It's not coming out of our general fund, but the fire money only is so big also.
Yeah, and this group has wanted to, like I said, they've had this idea of these poly tanks for a while, and they've bid it 2 or 3 times. And the first couple times they bid it, they didn't get anybody. They got one respondent that was too high, and then they've redesigned it a little bit and rebid it, and they've always been just adamant that they've got to have these poly tanks, that this is the only way they can do this project. And like I said, they've bid it 2 or 3 times. We've done other stations in the amount of time it's taken to bid this.
But there again, this comes out of their money.
It comes out of their money. Yeah, it doesn't come out of the general fund. It comes out of the money of that fire department to do this project.
And what else can they use that money for?
This is, with their fire funds, they can use it to buy equipment, they can use it to pay for fire trainings, they can use it to upgrade their buildings, they can use it to pay for food if they've been on an exertive training or on a fire for more than 8 hours. Can't be used for like clothing or, it's used for bunker gear and things like that, but not license plates for the vehicles or... but they do use it to buy uniforms for the firefighters, the hats and T-shirts and jackets you see them wear.
And how much do they have in this line item?
Tyrone, I would have to look at it. Tyrone is one of the larger stations. They have several substations that they receive. I believe it's about $250,000 a year of state fire funds because of all of their stations. They have the Tyrone, at Tyrone Town Site, they've got the Flying A. They've got the not Whiskey Creek, they've got the Wind Canyon, they've got the White Signal, they've got Hachita Station. So they have several stations that are all mains, and so they get the most funding. And so they have the money in their budgets to do what they need to do. They've always had plenty of funding. They don't have a problem. They're one of our more diligent fire departments on the finance aspect. They actually were in here yesterday with Linda Vasquez, sitting with her, the chief and their finance officer, going through their finances, because they've been very diligent. Like I said, they're the best of all.
So that was my question, they don't ever go over budget, I mean,
No, they don't.
Even with this, they'll have enough money to,
Yeah, they always have plenty of money, they always budget way out for what they want to do. They're planning some repairs, some remodels to the Tyrone Station. Currently, they're looking at doing some design work on that one, the one that sits at Tyrone Town Site, to make it a larger station, and better serve the community there. And so, they always plan well and always have the money. Ellen Harris, that is the fire chief there, is a real stickler. Her background is finance, and she's a real stickler on making sure when there's something for $100 charged into her budget that shouldn't have been, she's on the phone right away. She watches it very closely. So, but
that I move to approve bid number B-12-3.
I second.
The motion to approve has been seconded. Bid number B-12-03. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes. Okay, at this time, we're going to recess into the Grant County Board of Commissioners, and we're going to reconvene as the Grant County Indigent and Healthcare Claims Board. So can I get a motion for a recess?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. And I'll call to order the Grant County Indigent and Healthcare Claims Board. At this time, the first item on that agenda is to approve or disapprove the July 2012 indigent claims.
thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. In your packet, you've got the July 2012 indigent claims. As you look at the 967 claims for $640,000.25 are out of the sole community provider portion of the indigent, and 4 claims at a total of $2,888 are out of the indigent fund portion of that. So it gives a total of 971 claims totaling $642,888.25. And they've been approved by Jacob Zamora, reviewed by him, that the funding is there to pay for these claims if you wish to approve.
Chairman Council, I move to approve the July 2012 indigent claims.
I second.
So motion to approve the July 2012 indigent claims. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes. Can I get a motion to adjourn the Grant County Indigent and Healthcare Claims Board?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. At this time, we'll reconvene as the Grant County Board of Commissioners, and we'll move into county reports. Joseph, you're all by yourself, so I'll let you go first.
We've been there at the Information Center a month.
Oh, they don't have enough cameras or something?
The man behind the curtain,
Everybody?
or the woman behind the
Just
curtain?
outside.
Just Joe.
Okay.
On Friday, the 24th, we'll be at the Youth Detention Center for a month. We're finally settling in. The inmates are getting used to it. We're starting to run racks, starting to run visits. Our officers are getting used to the new computer inmate management system we have, which is working really great for us. We have run into a few issues, but the facility is covered under all warranties, so we're getting those repaired. We're doing inspections of the facility weekly to make sure that that facility is working properly and everything is fixed. And it's great to have that new facility, and it's wonderful for the county. We had our first meeting in our programs last Friday, and we had over 60 to 70 participants. And there's just a lot of community support and outreach wanting to help the inmates, and we're looking at starting our programming within September, and everything's going good. We are currently going to hire 2 more additional officers. We're 2 officers short right now, but we're thankful for the building, and everything's going good, and we're just continuing the good work. And I'd like to thank my officers for their hard work this past month, and we put in a lot of overtime hours on the move and just getting things situated, and it's going good. And I'd like to thank the commissioners and the county manager and the attorney in your room for all the help we've been receiving. Thank you.
Any questions for
Just
Joseph?
one question, what are some of the programs that you're going to be in?
There was religious programming, we had Workforce Solutions there, we had Western there, we had Healy Regional there, we had the healthcare company, which we're currently talking to about going into the facility. We had different programs from this restorative justice program, we had mental health counselors, we had border area. We're just looking at putting it all together and just providing the best we can for the inmates so they don't come back to jail. That building is a very secure building. The security of the building's there. With our inmate management system, we'll be able to manage the inmates better and more properly. And just providing with the program, it'll just be a whole 180 degree for the inmates, and hopefully we can help them become productive citizens of the community. I'm looking forward to carrying on these programmings and just doing what we can for the inmates. One of the biggest thing I think is going to help is getting the health care into the jail, and that way we won't have to use it. The healthcare company we're looking at is a nonprofit organization, and they do work with community resources to help the inmate. And I think with them included in our facility, we'll be doing really well.
And what exactly will they take care of?
They'll do everything. They'll intake every inmate, they'll medically screen them, mental health screen them, and they'll handle any needs or concerns that they may have. And they'll even work with the courts, they'll even work with the judges, saying that if the inmate has any complaints, that they did diagnose the inmate's fine, or that if they did diagnose the inmate, that the courts might have to look for alternatives to keeping him in jail or moving him to another facility where there could be proper care for that inmate. They'll take care of all the meds, and actually they said that they'll take the liability and everything from the facility, so the decision on any medical issues will be up to that company.
Because the medication has been a problem in the
Yes.
past, so I'm happy to hear that.
And one of the biggest things too is we're looking at help the inmates try and get off of the narcotics and try and use the lesser drugs and the lesser prescriptions.
Thank you, Joseph.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up, Joseph's been doing a great job as interim. Mike, our former administrator, retired July 31st. So Joseph's been doing a great job. He's been dealing with it. Some of the issues, you've got a building that we built and it didn't rain as soon as we got the roof on, and now we're getting some rains. We're seeing where there's maybe a little leak here and there, and so he's dealing with those little issues great. The health care that he spoke of when we spoke with the hospital, and Joseph's working with them well, is that it looks like we'll be able to pay for that out of the indigent, because our indigent ordinance says that all of our inmates are indigent. So it won't come from the general fund or Joseph's operating budget. We'll be able to take it from those indigent funds, and the hospital's been working with us on how to structure the agreement so that will take place. So it won't be a big hit, because typically, I think Hidalgo County is paying $600,000, because they've got a doctor on full-time, they've got psychiatric on full-time, but they only have about 15 inmates. So they entered their contract with the expect to fill their facility of 140 inmates. We have a 100-bed facility, and we have 40 temporary beds, so we could be a 140-bed facility. If the need arose, we're going to try and not be there. We're going to try and cap at 100 if we can.
Yes.
But that's what this group will come in and look at, and it won't cost us as the county out of the general fund anything. It'll come from our tax for the indigent funds.
Anything? Joseph, what's our census now?
Right now it's between 80 and 85. Right now the women population is what's relatively low. We only have maybe 6 women, and because sometimes they don't get along, we have them separated into different pod areas.
What are you saying about women not getting along?
Usually the men will just duke it out, forget about it, but the women, it carries on.
Okay. Do you find the building much easier? You touched
Yes.
on this a little bit, but much easier to
The way that the
control your
building, yes,
inmates
the
and
way
watch
the
them?
building was planned and the way the flow of the building is, each inmate, the males are in a certain section, the females are in a certain section, and they're built off to where they're coordinated off so they never come to meet. The way the booking area is also, we kind of set it up kind of like the prison where we teach the inmates to walk the line, so they have to walk to the right side at all times. We have it tagged off with red, to the red tells them where they can and can't go, and even in the booking area, there's lines where they can and can't go without permission. We want to give them a structured environment and get them used to the rules and regulations, hold them accountable for the rules and regulations, but at the same time help them through the programming and whatever else we can do with them to just help them become productive citizens.
Are the police departments and the sheriff's office, are they managing with the new system of...
Yes, we're all working together, and actually, we're coordinating on maybe putting a computer donated by Silver City Police Department that'll have not only the Sheriff's Department, the Silver City Police Department, the local agencies, Hurley, Baird, and Central, and the State Police, have all their files so they could do their reports there. And actually, all the departments helped us with our move, and we continue to work together, and we're even going to help maybe give them a screening process until we get the medical in to where they know if they can come to jail, if they have to take them to the hospital.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it, good job.
Thank you,
Joseph.
Joseph, great job.
Kevin, what do you got for us today?
The sheriff is at Sheriff's Association meetings in Las Cruces this week, and he should be back tonight. He's going through training and meetings. And that's all we have.
Okay.
Kevin, I think all of us received this petition from people out in the area of Valley Drive, that area. Have you been in contact with any of those individuals?
Is this the one in regards to the shooting out there? Yes.
So, you have been out there, are you beefing up patrols? I mean, is there some individual
Patrols have
that...
been beefed up, and all the people in question have been contacted, and we're dealing with the situation.
Just for the record, I did not receive that.
You didn't?
You didn't, just like Christie.
Well, he's
That is Christie this time.
We'll read that in a little while. Okay. Thank you very much,
Thank you, Kevin.
How are you today? You got something for us?
Yes, sir, I do.
All
Thank
right.
you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. I want to thank my staff because they're out working the reappraisal package I put together in front of you in April, working towards that until the end of the year. So I want to thank them. They're working real hard. I just want to inform the public that each employee does have a pictured ID. Vehicles are marked, and so if they have any questions, the number and everything's on the ID. Back to the fire station in Tyrone real quick, Mr. Chairman, if I may. We've been working on that water since I was the chief back then, and over the 3 fiscal years, we've planned those funds and carried over funds to make sure we had enough to. So it just didn't come out of one chunk of one fiscal year, so just to set that clear with you.
Well, I don't think I had a discussion on whether or not you all had the money. I'm just,
Right.
my only point is I know it can be done a lot cheaper.
Right.
But I also know that it's your money, so.
And you also know I'm not the chief. So, just real quick, I did put in your boxes as you know, I'm the member of the New Mexico Association of Counties. There are some legislative priorities. I would like to ask you to accept those in resolution form as far as accepting the 6 priorities from the Association of Counties. I'm not going to go over them in detail, but the assessor has 1, the clerks have 1, commissioners have 3. Well, I'll go over them. Real property sale disclosure from the assessors is currently, right now, if you buy a piece of property residential, it has to be disclosed to the assessor's office in affidavit form. All of that is confidential information only to the assessor's office, not public information. So we're asking that all sales, which would include commercial, land, non-residential sales. The clerks is database royalties. There's been some question, I don't know if Robert wants to address that any, but companies come and want our data, and then they're turning around and selling it. We can't, as far as public information, it's got to be given to them free. So the clerks are working on issues, their affiliate, to try to get this passed. Again, it's in your packet if you want to read over it. Commissioners have 3, which is the traffic violation reform. As you know, I don't know, John, want to elaborate a little bit on this, is where counties, violators of traffic violations get put in county jails, and so county jails are spending a lot of money on violators who aren't really a threat to the public, but they're in the facility, and so the county's trying to, or the commission, trying to go through legislation to try to get some changes to. Again, I know the sheriff's affiliate had some questions about that, but we're talking minimal offenders, and again, it's in your package, you can read over it. If you have any questions, you can ask at that time. The other one is EMS funding, trying to make it, the funding more better, actually increase the funding for rural EMS which is more probably county fire departments and their EMSs. And so you can read that. The other one is the firework licensing and safety issue. This was one brought by the Commissioners Affiliate, again, to try to make it in extreme drought conditions, the sale and use of particular types of fireworks within the jurisdiction of the counties. Again, you could read more into that, and you have any questions, we can talk about that in September. The other one is the delinquent property tax sales. This is brought by the Treasurer's Affiliate. They, as you know, delinquent tax after 4 years can go to a tax sale. Well, I'm not here, I can't speak for the Treasurer, but I think it's been over 5 or 6 years that they've had a sale. And what we're trying to do, or the Treasurer's Affiliate, is try to go to the legislature to make sure that Property Tax Division, which oversees those, do one either annually or biannually, because as you know, that's county money, and if there's not a sale, then inventory just keeps adding up, and the county's not getting any funds back on that. And really, when you look at it, not all of them go. There might be 50 delinquent sales, probably 5 actually go to the sale. But if you don't do them every year or every other year, they just keep adding up and adding up, so they're trying to stop that. Other than that, I don't have anything else unless you have any questions.
Was there anything missing off that list that you really wanted?
I think there was, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, was a solid waste. It's not a priority for the Association of Counties, but it is on their list to monitor and watch. The commission affiliate can still present that to the legislature. It's just not on the top 6 priorities of the...
I actually attended the meeting with Randy on that, and I was very, very disappointed. Basically, what I saw is the Treasurer's Office from Doñana County kill this with one comment that he didn't feel as though it was the Treasurer's job to collect solid waste fees, and I couldn't get any traction after that. I'm very saddened that the Association of Counties of the state don't see that simplifying the solid waste funding and trying to stomp out illegal dumping as a priority issue. So with that being said, I don't know. I'm very saddened about that. You knew that when I left.
Yes, sir, I do, Mr. Chairman. Well, go ahead, John, if you're going to say something.
No, go ahead.
Well, I just want to say again, it didn't get on the top 6 priorities, but it is still on the list, and as it won't be something
I
that...
thought it was tabled until the next meeting. I'm sorry.
Well, it's still on the list of the resolution passed by the commission.
Okay.
What we have to do here, and I will work on that, Mr. Chairman, is we'll have a meeting in October, and to present the resolution that you accept the 6. Now, if you don't, I mean, that's totally up to the commission. But I will be presenting that to the full board in October, and with that, I'll have more information on the solid waste. I think one of the issues with solid waste is some counties are doing it just like you've said, and some aren't. Some, the solid waste is being picked up by the municipalities. So there's, all 33 counties are just on a different realm, but I know the majority of them have the same issues as we do here in Grant County. I see the treasurer as, it shouldn't be any different than the treasurer's affiliate collecting the liquor fees and everything. They're a collection agency for the county, along with property taxes. I understand that, and so we'll try to rectify to see where we go from here. So unless you have any other questions, that's all I have.
Well, I'll be glad to take that to our Southwest Commissioner Alliance and see if we can...
And we actually, one of the things that disturbed me about that, Gabe, was that the member for the state board from Catron County is actually the assessor, maybe? Or is it the treasurer? The lady?
From Catron County, yes, sir. She's the assessor.
And she actually spoke against it also. After our commissioners that we're working with Catron County are all for it. So what I saw is that the commissioners see this as a real issue, and that some of the other electeds that are on the other board don't see it as an issue at all.
Well, they're dealing with their assessments. They're not dealing with the public.
So, that's what I saw, and it really saddened me. I don't know how to say it any other way.
more work for them? I mean, what is their objection to...
I couldn't get any traction after that. I got nothing.
I just wanted to bring up that because this is such an important issue, it doesn't stop Grant County from going to our legislators to try and put some legislation in and get the commissioners to back that legislation. It's just that the Association of Counties won't use their lobbyists to lobby for this, but it doesn't stop us. They're trying to get that legislative change.
And even if we get it passed where it allows counties to do it, not forcing a county.
Well, that's how it was written, is it was an option.
Yeah.
This is another way that you could potentially fund solid
And
waste.
collect the money.
Yeah, and I spoke with our treasurer's office, with Steve Armendariz, the chief deputy, and he was unaware that this was, a view of any treasurers, that he felt that the treasurers supported this because their responsibility, he looks at it as the treasurer's responsibility is to collect all receipts for the county. Doesn't matter where those receipts come from, they're responsible for all receipts, is what he told me. And so he's supportive of it, and it shocked him that a treasurer spoke up against it, because it is their responsibility to collect all the receipts, is what he told me.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, again, too, the actual opponent from Doña County was the proxy for the actual board member, and so, that's another thing, but as the District 5 representative who represents Doña Ana Luna, Grant, Hidalgo, and Sierra County, as the representative for those counties, I will make sure that I take this a lot farther than it went in the board of directors.
Okay, well, and I would appreciate that. Okay, I know you got some stuff going on.
Chairman, Commissioners, I just did want to remind everybody that the first week of September, when we come back from Memorial Day, to start Labor Day, start expecting to see those ballots for the special election trickling into your mailboxes. Please, as soon as you can, get those back to us. Of course, you have until the 18th of September, 7 p.m. to get those back to us. If you should not receive one in the mail, please contact our office so we can get one to you, or come by our office and we can actually print out a ballot to you so you can take with you to fill out.
Okay, I'm good.
Other than that, unless you have any questions for me, that's all I have at this time.
Thank you, Robert. Is it time for you in the next couple of months?
We know it's not your job to make sure things pass, but this is one we want.
We want to pass this. Yes, sir.
John?
I wanted to start with the meetings for September and October, since we're at that point. In September, our meetings will be September 11th, will be a combination work session and meeting, like we're having today. And then we'll have one on September 25th.
That's a combo also.
Yeah, and that'll be a combo also. We've gotten rid of the 13th meeting because the chairman and I have some events we have to attend. So we'll be out of town, events, meetings. And then the 25th is because that's Fair Week. And so we're trying to have our meeting right before all the big events start happening at the fair, so that the commissioners can be involved
Yeah,
in
we can't have a
fair
meeting during the hog show.
activities. And then when we go into October 11th, we will have a commission meeting that's a joint meeting. And then on the 23rd, we will have a work session, and the 25th will be a meeting. And then on the 23rd, I will instruct all of our my department heads to be here to give the commissioners an update on what they've been doing, where they've been, and what they have planned going forward, as we're getting closer to the winter months, what they do getting ready for the winter months to hit, and so that they can give the commissioners a good update on where they've been and what they've been doing. Next item is we've been looking at buying some vehicles. And what we've done is we've talked with, in the past, we've always just typically bought off the state price agreements. So what we did this time is we took the state price agreement that was there, and we took it to our local Ford dealer, and asked them, is it possible for you to get some kind of deal like this, close to this, for other Fords? Because we've always been told that it's a concession that's only given to one dealership, and the dealership is always in Albuquerque. And they said, yeah, it's possible. We can't get exactly that low, but we can get very close to it. I think it's within $1,000 or thousands of dollars. And so what I think we're going to do is we're going to go out for bid and it'll be open to all Ford dealers. We're looking at Fords. And the reason why we're saying Ford is just because of Ford is a dealership that we have in town that's American-made vehicles. It is also what most of our mechanics are trained on. We have a large fleet of Ford vehicles, and we have software for diagnosing the issues after it goes through the warranty process. With the Dodge dealership shutting down, we have some Dodge vehicles, but anytime there's warranty work, now we have to either take them to Deming or to Las Cruces for the warranty work, or do it ourselves and not get the free warranty work, depending on the process. So we're looking at doing some Ford vehicles, different, we've looked at the Escapes and the Explorers. What we found is they get the same gas mileage, but the Explorer has more room in it. So it's a roomier vehicle, but it gets exactly the same gas mileage as what the ratings are. So I think we're probably going to look at the Explorers for the little SUVs. We're going to ride it to where it doesn't have a maximum on it, so that if we get some of these vehicles and they're working for us and the Sheriff's Office gets the ability to buy vehicles and they want to try them, we don't have to go out for bid again. We can just use that same agreement we've already got in place to go get these vehicles again. So we'll probably see our local Ford apply, Smith, probably Monette Ford has shown an interest out of Socorro. They've said that they're interested, so we'll send it to them and see if we can't get somebody that's down in this region to keep our money locally instead of always goes to Albuquerque to one dealership, because that's what typically happens with the state price agreements.
Well, I'm hoping that we get some good bids from our local here.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's real easy to get on the website and see what we could get through the state contract, right? So
Yeah.
hopefully they can see that and give us some good bids so that we can use them, because I think we all want to continue to use our local businesses here in town.
I think we ought to send it to everybody that's in the Southwest Commissioners Alliance, all the county.
The Ford dealerships and those, yeah. So, and that's what we're gonna do, and see what we get back. It always, if they come back and they're higher than what we expected, it doesn't stop us from rejecting those and going to the state price agreement if it's in our best interest. But always what we've said is, if we can get the state price, or real close to it, within $1,000 or so, I think it's worthwhile to try and keep that money down in this region, then send it up to Albuquerque. And nothing against the Albuquerque dealers, they've been great to us, and they've done a really good job selling
Now,
these vehicles.
if our local dealership is really close, do we have to take the lowest bid to an out-of-town person?
We can look at it as we build the bid. Currently, the way the state,
I mean, I hate for our local dealership to miss it for $30 a car or something
Yeah.
like that. And if so, can we give a preference?
well, the way that the state purchasing has right now is there's a preference if you're an in-state vendor. There's no ability for us to give a preference for being a Grant County vendor or a Southwest County Commissioners Alliance vendor. The town of Silver City has done something where, because they're a territorial charter, they can give a bidder preference because they have different regulations on them than we do because of that territorial charter. So they've enacted a preference.
However, their preference is in Grant County.
It's Silver City.
I thought it was a Grant County preference. You have to be a county vendor.
I don't know if it's a county or a city vendor. I would have to check with them. So they've done a little bit of a preference, yeah. We can look and see if there's a way, talk with purchasing, and see if there's a way to rank it by criteria, because what typically happens, we buy our vehicles from Albuquerque, and then we take them to the local people to do the maintenance on them for if it's warranty work, and we get put at the back of the list because we haven't bought locally. And I don't blame them at all for doing that. If we were to be able to buy locally, what they've told us is we get priority service, we get moved to the front, our vehicles are in and out faster on warranty issues. So there's some benefits. So maybe we can look at some of those things. You don't have delivery costs. That's one thing we talked about, Jacob and I talked about, is anytime we buy a vehicle from Albuquerque, and in this instance, we've got about 9 vehicles we're looking at buying. I would have to send 11 people to Albuquerque to pick up 9 vehicles, because I've got to have 9 drivers, plus I don't have anything that will hold 11 people in it or 10 people in it, so I've got to send 2 vehicles up there. So now I've got wages of 11 people, I've got gas for 11 vehicles one way from Albuquerque, so our costs are more.
Include service criteria in the bid?
We could do those types of things, and that's what we'll look at, is to see if there's ways, because there are benefits we do get by buying locally that we would even get if we bought from, say, Monette Ford and Socorro, that we don't get by buying in Albuquerque. So those are things we'll look at to see if we can, put some of those so that these people can actually put that, to say, we understand our price might be $100 more, but you're going to save because you're going to get your vehicle in and out faster. You're not going to have to send people to drive them down here. See if we can take in those considerations, say delivery charges, things like that.
Yeah, I think the expense with maintenance is something that we really, really need to...
Well, but we need to form that relationship with our local.
Yeah, and we've tried, like I said, in the past, and they've just never been able to give us a good, the state price agreements have always been so low. Last time we bought an Escape, it was $18,000 on the state price agreement, and the sticker price on the lot was $31,000 plus. It's always been so wide of a range, and now it's getting to where they're closer. The state price agreement isn't that great of a deal anymore, that the vendors are able to get closer to them, is what we're hearing. So that's why we're
We
excited
pretty much
about
buy
that.
a bare bones vehicle, so.
Yeah, we don't get the fancy stuff. I think the only thing special on these is we were going to get the backup sensors, so that we would, because of some of them will be used by the senior services. They do a lot of deliveries, they're backing a lot, and this will have a sensor to let them know if they're going to bump into something, so it's a safety. And it's only, I think, $190 option or something like that to get, so it's well worth it to get that for these vehicles. So otherwise, we don't get anything real fancy.
Anything else, John?
I wanted to, as part of my report, Mark Valenzuela has come. We had Mark is the financial advisor for the commission on the hospital, the bond issue they're looking at going out for $38 million. I wanted Mark to come and give you an update on kind of what he's seen and what's been happening with NMFA and kind of where he thinks we should be going.
Thank you, and good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. It's good to be here with you. And I have been looking at and reviewing the financials for the hospital and their planned approach to go out for their bond issue. And what's changed, as John has mentioned, is NMFA has had some serious difficulties within their organization, to put it mildly. And it seems that they will no longer be in the business for at least the next 6 months for financing. This financing was in front of them, and they communicated to the hospital that it will have to be postponed, given the size of this transaction and the risk that they're going forward right now with. So, having said that, I've begun to look at options, and I know that the hospital has been solicited by other investment banks that may provide solutions as well. The good news here is that your hospital is investment grade. It has an investment grade bond rating of BBB, which means that it should receive a very receptive pricing in the market from investors. So that's the good news. Now, depending on where the hospital wants to go, how they want to structure this will really define the different structuring issues that would be in front of them. Based on your direction, based on that of the hospital, I can certainly put together my thoughts on that. The market is at its historic low. Interest rates are at a place that we haven't seen in 60 years. And it's anybody's guess where that will be. I think the conventional wisdom is that those rates will stay in place throughout the next year, that they'll still be, in the levels we're seeing now. However, I would be remiss if I told you that that's where I saw things happening, because nobody has a crystal ball, and anything can change in the market. So my recommendation to my clients is we always plan for the worst and hope for the best, and ensure that whatever structure goes forward is one that is affordable for the community and for the hospital, one that gets the most flexibility for the hospital, and also has it at the lowest price. So those are the thoughts. I had mentioned to Mr. Sari that that our underwriting desk had taken a look at the market about 3 weeks ago, based on the AAA bond rating that the hospital has, and going out for a 20-year bond issuance, we found that the market would support approximately a 4.2% interest rate. And again, that was 3 weeks ago. And things have changed. Interest rates have actually risen a little bit over the last 2 weeks. So you won't know what your price is until you actually go out to the market. There are some recommendations, I think, in terms of, and this is really a conversation for you to entertain with the hospital, and I'm happy to participate in that. Depending on the need for money for the expansion and the new facility, the commission could approve pieces of bonds over time. So, as an example, if the hospital needed $5 million out of the gate, you could authorize perhaps a $10 million bond issue to provide them capital to get going and start building and constructing in this year. And the benefit to that, and I use the $10 million figure because it's an important threshold in the market, anything under $10 million in 1 year can be sold as what we call bank-qualified bonds. When they're bank-qualified, that means your local bankers are going to buy those bonds. So it could be Western, it could be, whoever's in the local area in the southwest region. They could buy those bonds, and when they do, they get a credit on their earnings. A credit more than what tax-exempt investors get. Having said that, those banks typically pass on that value to the issuer. $10 million is the threshold per year. So there's an opportunity if the hospital could parse out this $34 million plus bond issue over a couple of years, they could lower their initial cost on the financing on the front years. The benefit is that you're not borrowing $34 million tomorrow, paying interest costs on that money. You're borrowing $10 million tomorrow and paying interest on 10, borrowing another $10 million next year, paying interest on that. So you don't have the huge hit up front. So we've run scenarios like that already to take a look at it, and there is some benefit to that. But it really is a question for the hospital to tell you when they're going to need money for the construction. So it's a thought, it's an idea. And I think the bottom line is the market is very receptive to a transaction like this. So.
Would the issuer be the county rather than the hospital at that point in time?
Well, and it's really up to you, Mr. Chairman. However you would like to structure it. Now, the question you pose, the county has a higher bond rating than the hospital does. So if the county were to put its name on these bonds, and depending how you structured that, this could trade much better in the market. It could trade as a single A rated credit. Now, the structure, the devil's in the detail, and we want to talk about any liability that could accrue to the county if you did that. So we would want to have a very reasoned approach as we go forward on that. But you could conceivably do that and lower the borrow cost.
And they would still be revenue bonds?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
What if you mixed and matched?
Well, a mix and match would work best if we parsed out the bond series. So if we issued 10 million, tomorrow, and I use tomorrow in a general sense, that it could work that way. Absolutely.
I'm just asking in general, so I get a grasp on it.
Depending on, when you say mix and match, if the county were willing to put up its revenue as a backstop, not to pay the bonds, but as a backstop, yes, you could put it all together, and it would increase the bond rating. You would improve that, and thus lower the.
Go to an A?
Yep, that's right.
And what rate would we be looking at an A?
If you're at an A, you're going to trade probably half a percentage point better. So we'd probably be
3.75?
Yeah, 3.75.
So if you were at 3.75, the yield to a bank would be, since you have the tax equivalents, just nearly 6, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. It would be a very good
investment. They would be all over that.
I would think your local banks, and knowing your local banks the way I do, I think they'd be very interested in doing it. There's no question about it. Now, the local bankers are likely they're not going to want to go out longer than 15 years. They typically have that constraint. But we can structure this so that those pieces of the transaction are mature before 15 years to entice them into the transaction.
Because the market has been so horrible for the last year, they're buying 25s right now.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
I mean, they're not loving it, but they are purchasing some 25s.
Yeah. So it's a real opportunity. I can tell you that even at the triple B, which is right above investment grade. So if you go down to double B as an example, which is the next level down, you're now in non-investment grade or junk bond status, and that's a bit of a more difficult transaction to get done right now. But because you're triple B, you're investment grade, there's a very active appetite from investors for that kind of credit. So
These could be structured like we did the Fort Bayard Medical Center as the revenue bonds, where it didn't obligate the county at all, but if that revenue stream disappeared, then the bondholders, it would revert to the bondholders. Similar, so there's no risk as well.
Unless we backstop.
Yeah, that's
To get that lower
If we don't
interest rate.
backstop, then it could be
You
similar
got to
to
remember,
those.
you own the hospital, so you're going to be involved either way.
Yeah. No, but that's, well, we own Fort Bayard Medical Center, and so that's the revenue bonds were structured there, that it's the revenue stream from the rent pays for those bonds. But it could be a similar thing. But I think, if we can put something to back it, then it helps the process, but it doesn't necessarily have to be structured
I
that
think
way.
when you do that, you take it out of bank qualified though, don't you?
depending, it could eliminate the bank qualification on it. The real target there is the 10 million per year, and so you want to keep on track. And again, I think if the hospital doesn't need the 34 million plus immediately, it may be a good strategy to do that, to parse out the money. You're not paying as much interest, and as you know, on your investment accounts, you're earning very little money on your returns, maybe 0.25% on your own county funds. So you're paying out interest, and you're not able to earn very much on that 34 million as it sits in the bank waiting to build project and pay for those costs. So parsing it out makes a lot of sense right now. And again, if your view of the world is that interest rates are going to stay relatively stable where they're at now, in another year, you're going to have the opportunity to sell at a rate similar to where we're at now. Again, who knows if that's true. This market is very stable, except in 08 when it kind of all markets fell apart. But the bond market is very stable, and things you tend to see major disruptions. Not well in advance, but you have a sense that things are happening that way. So
But it's hard to shock a market down when you're this low.
there's no question about it.
And you're still seeing that the government-backed paper is still strong in the market.
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman.
There's no issues with the sale.
That's right. There were these predictions several years ago that governments were a bad investment, and it just hasn't played out. I've never believed it, but it just has not played out. There have been bankruptcies in communities across the country, but those cases were very unique. They were highly leveraged. They were development kind of communities that, when the real estate market fell out, that community fell out. So I don't see that in Grant County. I don't see it in Silver City. I don't see it in this part of the world that's happening. So everything, from our perspective, everything looks very stable.
So if we were to do something like that, if we were to go out as the issuer, would we be able to bond more than the hospital? Because there's also some other things out there that potentially we may want to do, working with the university, because I think that's the two main things that we need to keep going good and thriving as a university and the hospital for future economic development and tourism, and also with people just moving here. So would we be able to pick and choose projects if we decided to do that way?
As Mr. Chairman, as part of this financing, given the revenue that would be backing it, it would be hospital revenues, you would be restricted primarily to the hospital. Now, if there are some facilities that are adjacent or sort of in line with the hospital, perhaps that could work.
Probably not.
You certainly have capacity within the county itself, with with your property tax revenue and perhaps some other revenues on the, within the county that could be used for that, so. And, you know, the lease appropriation deal you have with Fort Baird, there is a way for the county to receive revenue from that transaction, and if you did set it up that way, you could use some of that revenue to pay for some of those projects that you were...
That would be really neat.
That would be really nice.
Okay.
I would, and I'll just add one more thing.
Oh, okay.
And I know that with NMFA, what happened with them, there's going to be a lot of interest, I suspect, from investment banks that would want to participate in this transaction. I would encourage you to, and I'm happy to handle this for you, to go out in a bid process for that. I worked on a deal with El Paso County, Texas, several months ago, and we were able to lower the cost from an underwriting standpoint by half. And so it's really critical to really press those banks to put up their best price and their best thoughts on it, and really get somebody that really understands what's happening here at the county and with this hospital, so. Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to answer any other questions that any of the commissioners might have.
We appreciate you coming
Great
down.
information. Thank you, Mark.
Good to see you all.
You
Thank
too. Anything else, Tom?
No, I think that's it.
Commissioner Miller?
Just to update everyone on the Sunday liquor sales, David has been working on the procedure for that in order to get it on the ballot in November. So, David, anything you want to add to that?
No, right now, I've got a draft of the ordinance going. We have to check the Ts and cross the Ts and dot the Is on the procedure, but we should have a complete rough draft either by tomorrow or Monday and be moving down that process.
And then I understand that we are working on the fairgrounds. We're doing improvements on that. We won't be able to actually build anything before the fair, but we are working on that.
Yes.
I was hoping Justin would be here today.
They're going to, there's a couple places they're going to do some stabilization of the joists, and then they're going to look at tarping off the portion of the roof that blew off. We've already had the insurance adjuster go out and look at it. I believe there's about $68,000 worth of damage. We spoke with the fair board. We can't build anything new by this fair. So we want to get through this fair, and then we want to meet with them and see if we don't want to try and go to legislature, if there's going to be some capital outlay monies or something to possibly take that $68,000 and put it with some other monies to tear down what's currently there and build a new structure similar to what's over the concrete slab, just a metal clear span building. Work with the fair, they'll put the pins inside, so mainly it'll be just us building. There's no concrete floor in it, it's a dirt floor. That facility does sit in kind of a hole out there, so we would, redoing it is probably the best thing to do instead of patching it up, where we'd be able to bring it up out of that hole, and so it'd be a lot nicer facility for the kids and everything.
But we did receive $68,000 from the insurance.
Yeah, that's what they estimated the damage is at $68,000, so we'll, it's an old, kind of built with old telephone poles, and it's not a high class building, and so it didn't bring a lot of value when it was destroyed, but to replace it will be expensive, and so we'll work on maybe getting something put in place so that we can go in this legislative session and see if we can't get some funds and have a plan and show that we have $68,000 to put up, and it leverages us.
So the roof damage has been taken care of?
It's not, the roof, the damaged material has been removed, so there's no loose materials or anything. And then what we're going to do is, instead of just trying to put metal, because there were a couple joists that were snapped, that in the way that building was designed, it has a beam that goes across. It has two roofs, and the top roof sits on the lower roof, and so it's all supported. So you just can't take out these couple beams and replace them. You've basically got to remove the whole roof. And so we're thinking if we have to do that, we might as well look at building a new building, a better building for it, to match, the the new exhibit building we built, the dance slab, so it'll kind of go with those. So we'll work on that, and with having that money, like I said, that gives us leverage as we go into legislative session to say we're already putting up a portion, Grant County has stepped up.
One of the keys to getting that through the legislature is to have the plans drawn and the estimates prior to that, and having it on our ICIP.
Yes,
which we need to approve probably at the next meeting.
Yes. So we'll make sure that's a number one
That needs to
priority.
move up pretty high because it's an emergency situation. So those are the two things that we really need to get done.
I was thinking about putting it as the number one priority because of the other priorities we had. We have some funding for them. They're going on the convention center and stuff. And so...
If it's not on your ICIP, it will not be funded. And if it has not just the preliminary engineering, if the plans are drawn,
we'll
and
decide.
we're done, shovel ready, there's a good chance of something like that getting funded.
So right after the full...
Right after the fair's done, we're going to work with the fair boards. We have input from them on what they want to, what they would like to see in a new
And I
building.
know we'd like to work with the fair board, but I think they need to pick two people.
And that's what I mean, is I guess representatives of the
Two
fair board.
representatives, and then probably I'll volunteer from our group to work on it.
And we'll get with them. What we'll do is we'll talk with the fair board to get two people so that as soon as the fair's done, we can get that group together and working with an architect to design a new facility.
And just a reminder that the fair does start September 26th, so we hope everybody makes a little trip out there. And John's been working on the essential air services, right, John? Can you...
Yes. What has happened is every 2 years they bid out essential air services for Grant County Airport. Great Lakes was awarded it back in May of, not this year, the year before. They wrote a letter in June to the FAA that they wished to terminate the services. It was their 90-day letter of termination. In turn, the FAA submitted an order to rebid essential air services and to bind Great Lakes over until a replacement carrier is found or some other contract is put in place. So air service will not stop at Grant County Airport. It has to continue on. Great Lakes will continue to run their routes to Albuquerque as they're doing. The order has gone out, and there's been 2 replies received. Great Lakes Airline, again, responded to either go to Denver, 2 round trips a day to Denver, or 2 round trips a day to Phoenix. Seaport Air that responded last time, they responded with Pilatus Airline. Last time.
Okay.
Last time they responded with a Pilatus. This time they responded with a Cessna, an unpressurized. The Pilatus is a pressurized plane. The Cessna is an unpressurized plane. Or they have another aircraft, the Piper or something like that is unpressurized.
Cessna Caravan or the Piper,
Something. And myself and the chairman met with the town manager and the mayor of Silver City, and we also met with Dr. Shepard from the university yesterday and just talked about what are the needs, what are everybody's needs, what do we need to see. And Dr. Shepard said that with their conference schedules, they don't fly the football team, but some of his smaller teams, the volleyball team, different tracks, basketball possibly, could be flying if they had more than 12 seats on the plane. So that's a consideration. The Cessnas only have 9 seats. Like I said, they're unpressurized. So they fly at, I think, 190 miles an hour compared to 400 that the Great Lakes plane would fly. So it's going to take you almost twice as long to get where you're going. The town has asked for an extension. We were supposed to reply by September 10th on behalf of the county and the town. The town asked for an extension to October 1st, so it would give us more time to evaluate. We talked with both of the carriers and invited them to come down and meet with... we're going to have to change that.
Yeah.
We'll talk about...
I'd like for them to meet with the commission.
Well, and that's what we did. We invited them to come down and do a joint meeting between, I guess it wasn't a joint meeting, the mayor would be here and a representative from the town council and then the commission so that they could present to the commissioners. The one issue is the order calls for a 15-passenger plane with 2 engines and has to be pressurized and 2 pilots. The Cessnas, of course, are non-pressurized, they're under the 15, and there's one pilot. So you'd have to give a waiver for that. The concerns we had in the past is if you give a waiver to let something in that's not part of the order, you could run the risk of losing the essential air service, because then somebody could come in and start flying for no fees or for no subsidy, and then you would lose your subsidy because you no longer need essential air service because you have air service. So it's a real concern. Like I said, we spoke with Great Lakes, we spoke with them in the past about Phoenix is nice, but we have a real need. We have a lot of us that go to Santa Fe, Albuquerque area. So it'd be really nice if you're going to do a Phoenix type of thing could we go Santa Fe? You know, maybe Phoenix to Santa Fe and back down to Silver City and back to Phoenix, and we do that kind of L-shaped thing or something like that to where we can still get to the north, because they're currently flying flights from Santa Fe to Denver on a daily basis. And then they're also, American Eagle, I believe it is going from Santa Fe to Dallas, to DFW on a daily basis. So if you could get into Santa Fe, you could get to Dallas, you could get to Denver, and then once you get to Dallas or Denver, you could go anywhere you want. Plus, you would be going to Phoenix, and you could go anywhere you want. And so it's a real plus to go into one of those instead of an Albuquerque that only has 15 flights going places. So you have more possibilities.
So what Great Lakes is offering is Silver City to Phoenix or Silver City to Denver.
What the order offered was, we could either choose 2 round trips a day, Silver City to Phoenix nonstop, or choose Silver City to Denver with a stop of the carrier's choice that could be either Pueblo, Colorado, Santa Fe, or
Alamosa.
But we so there needs to be some discussions that orders can change. And like I said, when we talked with them, they said they're open for discussions, they're open to see what the community needs. We understand, as they've presented before, the issue going into Albuquerque is they lose money. Not a lot of people will fly, there's not a lot of connections, and that's where they make their money. So going into Phoenix or Denver is where they need to be.
And just one last comment on this. Seaport possibly would offer Silver City to Albuquerque, Silver City to Phoenix, and Silver City to Santa Fe. But Clovis would have to be in agreement.
They've currently what they've offered is they've offered 3 round trips a day to Albuquerque. We've talked with them in the past. They've said that, we could look at changing those so they're not Albuquerque's. When we spoke to them yesterday, the way they put their deal together is, they need Clovis to get in and Grant County to get in to choose them for it to make that a viable service for them. Otherwise, it's not a viable service. We've also asked them to speak with Great Lakes, and we've talked with Great Lakes, and they're both going to talk about, is there a way that we can do a combination of the 2 of them possibly in Great Lakes, because it's a larger plane, be going to Phoenix to the major hub, and these smaller planes be taking those of us that go to Santa Fe and Albuquerque up to Santa Fe and Albuquerque, and you get the best of both worlds, and they both are making money. I don't know. That's something they'd have to. And then you have to talk to the FAA to want to subsidize more, and I don't know that it'll happen, because we're looking currently at about a $2 million subsidies is what is going to be needed by these groups to fly. So it would increase the subsidy, and I don't know if that's going to happen. But we're looking at different options, and we want to have a little more time, want to have these groups come in front of the commissions, so you guys can ask the questions you need to, and the public could be here and ask any questions they need to about the services.
Thank you, John, and that's all I have.
Commissioner, you ready? Oh, man. I see the list.
Well, first of all, congratulations to the silver 15-16 softball girls. They were state champions.
Yes.
And congratulations to the copper 15-14 softball girls. They're state champs, and I'm proud to say I was one of the coaches. We took 3rd in the regional tournament, and they did fantastic. This is a great group of girls, great group of parents. And I'd really like to extend a thank you to all the local businesses and elected officials that donated money. We really do appreciate what you all did. County came together and we raised right around $5,000 in about 4 days. So that was really special. So we appreciate that. I also wanted to question bus route monies or bus routes. How do we figure out which bus routes are going to be taken care of? when it comes to the road department? And how do we, or what do we do when, now that the monsoons are here and dirt's coming over the roads, what kind of maintenance program do we have there?
Yeah, I mean, we treat all the bus routes equally, trying to hit them. There's certain requirements that we keep. We get a little extra funding for them. The issue that Grant County has when we get the monsoons is, we have 6 blade operators that each have a district, and we have 700 miles of road. And so it's a difficult process. These guys are running constantly trying to get those taken care of. And so they have some. Earl tries to prioritize each district by the amount of traffic that's on each roadway. And this has been something that Chairman Caston has spoke about in the past, is we maybe need to come up with a new process of ranking our roads so that people understand that you're in an area where your road might get bladed once a year because there's not a lot of traffic on it, and it's just 5 homes maybe, but the road that is an artery that serves 1,000 residents is going to get bladed once a month. But they try and hit all the roads in each district a couple times a year. Some are hit more when they go out. If people have issues where there's a lot of mud, if they call the road department, they can put in a work order, and then we'll send a blade operator right away to those areas and try and take care of the problem areas first.
How about the chip seal roads?
Chip seal roads are a little different. Just because of putting a blade on them destroys our road, and so what we typically do is if we have a chip seal road that has an issue, we try and go clean it off, broom it off. As the mud dries, you get it broomed off, and then we work on drainage, reworking the drainage so we quit the water flowing over those roads. When these last couple of rains we've had have just been, and no drainage can keep up with them, and so they're kind of non-typical monsoons for us. Those last week where we had those 2 rains back to back, and the ground got so saturated, the second rain just was on top and running right away. But typically we try and put drainage projects into the local government road fund monies that road gets when we have a problem road that continues to get mud on it if it's a chip sealed road.
Yeah, I had a couple calls on Morales Road. That's why I was questioning,
Okay.
because I'm learning as we go also. So
No, yeah,
I appreciate that.
I mean, and I applaud the residents for being patient with us, because we do have 6 guys those guys are going nonstop, and during the summer they work 10-hour days so that they can be out there longer working the roads.
What is going on with our ETJ commission?
The commission has met, or I don't know if they've met. This commission has reappointed 2 new members for ours, and now those 4 members have to get together and pick a 5th member, and then they get
Who's
together.
going to be the active person putting the meeting together? Because if it's us, we need to get it done ASAP.
Yeah, no, we've contacted all of those members and let them know, and so we've offered assistance through the planning department, is how the JPA was put together with the town of Silver City, that if they give us some information, we'll get the meeting together for the group, and then they've got to select a 5th.
And that's why I was asking.
Yeah,
Has
so
the 5th person been in place?
as far as I know, the 5th person has not been selected by that group. Ours have only been in place for about a month or month and a half. We had some in place and town didn't, and it's been a real work trying to get it taken care of. But I will speak with Anthony and see if he can get with that group, and see if we can get them
Sounds good.
scheduled.
I also wanted to see if you can get together with Correcaminos and talk to them, see what kind of special routes we could run for the fair. I did have some teachers ask me, well, what can we do with our transit system to get some of these kids over there to see their exhibits? Half the kids never even get a chance to go up there because parents can't afford to take them.
So school bus drivers.
Well, yeah, but, I mean, if we have this transit, we can hopefully offer some special routes and get these kids over there. I think it's real special when they go in
I think that's
and see their
wonderful. Great
exhibits.
idea.
I think it's very special when they get in there and see their exhibits and get excited about the ribbons and on. I mean,
I have a meeting this afternoon with the director.
Good.
And so I can bring it up. One thing is, because it is a public transit it has to be available for everybody to ride the bus, and everybody has to be charged equally. It's some of the rules the federal government puts on us, but we'll see. There's things they've done in the past. I'll see what they can do. I know they do stuff for like the duck races down in Deming and stuff like that, and so it might be where
they have special
Grant
routes
County
to the
or a
fairgrounds?
special, something like that. So I'll talk with them today and see what they can put together.
Make
We
sure
tried to do some for
There's no
the...
problems with liability or anything like
Well, there's not an issue with liability because we've done it for like the Tour of the Gila, we've done it with issues. I think it's just the funding. We got to figure out how it's paid for and who's billed because they have to. It's part of the grants. Everybody has to charge equally because it's a public transit. And so, and then if somebody wishes to get on, we have to let them get on as part of the issue. So if all the seats are filled by the kids, then it's just a bus of kids. But if we had an open seat and you're standing there at a bus stop saying, I want to go out to the fair, you've got to be allowed to get on to go out to the fair. It's the requirement.
Yeah, but if there's access to these trips going over,
No.
I'm sure they'll be used.
Yeah, we'll look at it and I'll see what
And we
we
would
can.
offer it to Cobra and Silver Schools?
Yes.
And I would think that that would really be beneficial to the participation out at the fair, with all those kids going out there and buying things from the vendors and...
I'm thinking of it as a parent, you're spending, my son's going to ask me for money to go to the fair. So that's all I'm thinking of.
Well, I also want to give you a little update on the Southwest Commissioner Alliance. We had a meeting, well, it's been 3 weeks now since we had our last meeting. We have a meeting coming up Wednesday the 29th, but during our last meeting, we did discuss pretty heavily the juvenile detention problems that the county's been having. We did touch solid waste very briefly, and but we also had an uproar of people coming in talking to us about the road situations, and I wanted to kind of settle some facts, put some facts out on the table that they were given that are totally bogus. I really am concerned because I did receive some emails which were all a standard email form letter sent to us, and the club that really sponsored that was the Sierra Club. And what happened and really caught my concern was I have a friend of mine from Deming that sent me an email which was a form letter. So I decided to call him and explain to him what we were doing here, and he totally agrees with what we're doing now. And he was really misled by the Sierra Club by them telling him that we were going to allow motorized vehicles everywhere in the Gila. And I just took this straight off of the internet on the Sierra Club link, okay? And it did state that, on there it did state that clearly some public officials want to subvert this public process and allow motorized vehicles everywhere in the Gila. That is completely untrue. Completely untrue. So when people get those kind of facts that well, in all essence are not facts, and they really trust a club like that, they better start questioning the club that they're referring to and getting their information. I also saw here where it says support a responsible plan for reserving parts of Gila National Forest for quiet recreation. You know, I think we all support quiet recreation out in our forest. I know I'm a hunter, and I'm a serious hunter, so we're usually in bed by 9 o'clock and up at 4 in the morning getting ready to go hunt. And I preferably not camp next to people that are going to be up till 3 in the morning. And that's essentially what's going to happen with this next plan, is that we're going to have 17 areas of camping. And you're not going to be able to camp in your designated areas freely like you do now. So that is something that our organization did not like as an alliance. But I think more than anything, what we're trying to do is as a county, I think what we're trying to do is get our local forest to go ahead and publicly put down on their maps the 1,200 miles that are not that are actually being considered being closed but are not on their maps. I think that's one of our main goals as a county and as this alliance, and also to have some collaboration on some of these roads that they are trying to close. So I know that I've kind of jumped from place to place within what we've been dealing with, but you know, it really upset me that when I called my buddy and he had totally false information, and he was getting information from an actual club that used to have a lot lot of respect, amongst people within not only the United States, but New Mexico. And so when you see facts like that that are being put out there, I mean, motorized vehicles everywhere in the Gila, come on, give me a break. I mean, I'm totally for people using their ATVs on existing roads and being able to use them to retrieve their animals if they're hunters like I have in the past. But we are not for opening our forest totally for ATVs. That isn't what this group is about. So I definitely wanted to put a stop to this ASAP, because I did receive probably 120 emails that were all form letters and been sent to me to try and convince me to go with the forest on what they're trying to implement. And so I was really, really disturbed when I saw there was false information out there. Very, very disturbed. I do thank the people that have been talking to us out in the street, and everywhere we go, it seems like it's a pretty hot topic now. And I tell you what, you talk to the locals, and they are for keeping our roads open. I mean, a lot of them notice what's going on within these meetings that are being publicized, and they're asking a lot of questions, which is great. And I hope that they continue to ask questions, but get a little more involved in this process, because not only do I realize, but they also realize that if we close these roads, it's going to hurt our county economically, and that is one of the biggest things or the biggest challenges we're going to be facing if these roads are closed. Because most people that come here to see our forest, come here to this retirement community, come here to enjoy our trails and our roads. We have one of the biggest wilderness areas in the whole Gila, and right now we can drive our roads to the end or to the ends or the outskirts of the wilderness, to where we can enjoy the wilderness. If some of these roads are taken out, we might not be able to get there in a timely fashion and enjoy our forest out here. So, I mean, there's a lot of issues. I could keep going rambling on forever on these type of issues and the comments that people have given me personally while we're out there throughout the county. But I think I've hit the key points. But I do want to just state that I'm very disturbed that this kind of information would be getting out there, which is totally bogus. And I tell you what, I think I'm just as upset as the people that were emailing me, thinking that we were trying to open up our roads to this. So again, I thank you all very much for all your comments, and I think that's all I've got for today.
Okay. I had a little tour of Hatchita last week, working on the solid waste convenience station down there. We're going to try to do some work on that. Earl's going to. It's had a dangerous situation for years, and obviously we've been working on solid waste fees, and we'll continue to work on those. And I know you'll do a good job, Randy. I know you will, and I appreciate your help. I'm not mad at you, but I was a little upset at the meeting. So anyway, I think that's all I had. So I take a motion to adjourn unless anybody has anything else. John?
I just wanted to, I thought of it, I didn't give an update to the commissioners on the conference center, and the public has seen the fencing has gone up. They're working on the front of the conference center. The contractor is doing a great job. Ace Hardware is open. We haven't obstructed their parking or their storefront at this point in time. We're trying to have as minimal impact on that business as we can, because we understand that they're a business and they make their money off of customers coming in, so we're trying to make sure that we impact them minimally while we do the construction. But they are working on it and the building of the Corey Camino bus terminal on the side. So that has started, and that's what people are seeing.
I'm glad you brought that up. That brings me to a question. What's happening with the people that have already reserved the building?
Yeah, what we've done is we've had a meeting with the contractor. Originally, he asked us if we would basically throw everybody out of the building for a year. We told him it's not feasible to do that. So we went down through the events, and so there were some events that were a baby shower, that aren't a larger event, that we've talked with those people, and we've got them moved into another facility that Grant County has. We've been able to move them around. We've moved some of the things that are trainings, we've moved them into the commission chambers and allowed them to use the commission chambers for their trainings. The Silver Stompers have moved over to the church off of Little Walnut, and also at the Silver Senior Center, to use those places in their interim while we're doing this, because he should be done around a March timeframe, so it's not going to affect the graduations and things like that that'll be happening in the May.
Jim and Rock Show?
Jim and Mineral Show, we've made concessions that the contractor will redo his fencing for those events to where we can have the accesses open, where those people will be able to come and go. Justin's been working with the Forest Service for us to be able to use their parking lot, and then we'll use Corey Caminos to shuttle people down to the building, because we've taken up some of the parking. And so we're trying to work with the larger events. We just had the NRA banquet was in there, so it went off in there. Okay, the Jim and Mineral Show's planned on being in there. Of course, it'll be a polling center for the November elections. They asked us to move that, and we told them that's not going to happen, that will be a voting center, and so that will be open. The fencing will be rearranged, so there'll be access to the building, so you won't have to go through the construction zone. So we've taken the larger events and been able to do that with them, make concessions in the building, but then the smaller events, like I said, we've moved 2 other venues. We've been working with the gentlemen that play ping pong, have been looking at some different facilities for them to use. They've also asked, could they just come and go through the back door? And, so they went out and looked at Baton Park the other day, and we talked about if they go out there, we'd maybe build a temporary enclosure that the ping pong tables could be put in and locked up, so they pull them out and set them up to play, and then put them back in this little enclosure so they won't get damaged as other people use that facility. So, but we've worked with them. It's been really good. Everybody's been really understanding, because they understand we're just trying to make it better for all of them.
And the next renovation's only going to be worse, because it's going to be the end of the year.
The next renovation will be planned that we'll stop booking the facility, because the 3 options that we were kind of given from, or 4 options we were given from the architect, Mr. Richard, that he did for the commission, really redo the whole inside, so you're going to have to shut it down. It's not that we're going to do a portion of it. It's best to shut it down, go in and do it. Otherwise, construction would just take a long time to get it done. And I think it's better just to
Do you think
stop.
this would be a good time, a really good opportunity to get with Chuck Guerra at Property Control and ask him to lease the little theater at Fort Baird, so we have another venue?
That could be it, based on this, so we can make that phone call. I was on a conference call with him the other day on the water line that we're looking at doing, so we can definitely call him and see if there's something we can't work
And then we'll
out.
go ahead and get the trailer park at the same time, so we can start that.
Gave a presentation at the Veterans Legislative Committee session yesterday.
Yeah, he was here for
And
that,
Fort Baird was addressed, and
so.
still
No, he's very cautious in his
very,
words.
very cautious.
So, yeah, I will see if we can't work out something with them.
That'll give us another venue to put people that are
I know they can do a 5-year deal without going to legislature, so that would perfect be.
Would it require a lot of renovation to the...
No, the Little Theater-
I was there about 2 years ago.
No, the Little Theater has had several grants done on it where it actually brought it up to,
But other than that,
yeah, I think it's got cooling, but the heating, it was still on the boiler system,
so
is what we were told, so we would have to look for heating, but,
we would gladly do that.
but yeah, it's already been renovated, brought up to code, and so it's ready to go.
Yeah, it's a great
That's
idea.
one of the nice buildings.
And the longer stays empty, that's going to start depleting.
No, and we've had some discussions with them about how we would like to have those for use because we've had citizens that said, it'd be great to have a wedding out there and be out there on the grounds, and so, we've talked about it, so I'll make some more discussions. Maybe make a trip up there and just show up with the lease.
Okay. Yes, sir. Seconds, I guess. We're going around for seconds.
Remind you that the rates on the package are coming out here.
Oh, yeah.
15th jump, and so we have 5 days for the commissioner.
So we might have to have a special meeting.
I will run the yield control formulas, make sure those are correct, and then get with the entities
They
that,
need to be approved by when?
5 days from the date we receive them.
within 5 days.
Which would be
Where
about
did you get them?
I haven't yet, I'm just trying to give you a heads up in September
Typically come
15th.
around September 15th to 20th, and so it all depends on when they show up.
Our meeting might fall in the right
I was going to say it might fall.
Yeah, it all depends. Last year, they got them on time. The year before that, they sent us 2 or 3 sets before they had us approve a set, so, I mean, it varies.
Yeah, and Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I just gotta make sure that I get with the entities that are affected by those rates and make sure that they agree with those. And, in the past, we've had some issues with those along with the county debt service, but I think we're gonna be all right with those, and I'll get with John.
All right, thank you. Anybody else have something else? I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Motion passes.